La Lanterna, a spotlight in Italian football, is a podcast that dives into the beautiful game seen from the eyes of two fans from the oldest team in Italy's point of view. My name is Fabrizio Cardone, Canadian and Genovese, together with my friend Matt Killen, an American-born and Genoa fan. Every week, we'll tell you all you need to know about the only team you need to know about, Genoa CFC. Plus, we'll have guests and provide updates from around the magical world of Italian football. Welcome back to La Lanterna podcast. This is episode number 12. Hey, Matt, how are you doing?
Happy, doing well. How's everything going?
Well, after the showing of Coppa Italia, what are we supposed to say?
I mean, you got to be excited, right? Like it was not a bad performance at all. I think it was actually a pretty good first look at the team this season. So,
no, you're right. I actually was also reading some comments on the other side because sometimes it's fine, easy, and dandy to hear one side thing of the story, but when you start to read also the other side, you hear it. And they were basically saying that for them, it was almost like a no-show because they were bad. It was a one-way play and so on and so forth.
From the Benevento perspective?
From the Benevento perspective. Obviously, the second half was a little bit more, halfway through.
Yep.
But anyways, I'm totally on with what also Blessing had said. He said that basically those two goals that were given were very bad distractions in injury time on both first and second half, and that I'm going to say quote unquote should never happen ever again. Anyways, no, it was a great show. The duo up front I really like, Goodmanson and Coda. I think they complement each other quite well.
I agree. I mean, I think you really saw what Coda could provide in that match, because although Goodmanson had, I think, the first two goals, there was a lot of contribution from Coda in both of those buildups, if I'm not mistaken.
Mr. Assessman.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I was expecting him just to kind of be the vulture in the box, but he was really pretty involved with helping set up Goodmanson in both of those chances. So,
actually, I people might not necessarily agree, but it reminds me, which is fantastic if you think about it, though, a little bit of Borriello. So Borriello was not only the striker, but he was also a great ass. Like, he was a team player, and that's what you really need. Also, when you're an exciting and successful forward, that's who you want, because that's where the big difference from just a striker on itself versus like a multifaceted type of player too, right?
Yeah, I mean, you help build the team confidence a little bit more. You get other players involved. It's not exactly, you don't just have we're huffing the ball across the pitch to get to the target man, and hopefully he scores. Like, you got a little bit more kind of dynamism in the attack. So,
exactly. What do you think about the roster or the lineup or whatever?
Well, do we want to? I'm like really resisting the urge to talk about formation already, but I mainly liked it. I thought it was interesting that Josep Martinez was in goal. I think that may be a cup thing. I'm not sure if Blesson had said anything about that.
Well, he didn't. Nothing was official. A few websites were mentioning the fact that Blesson had chosen the number one, so they were already talking about Semper starting to look elsewhere and so on. But I'm very, very iffy on journalists that are talking out of their gazuzu, whatever you want to call it. But it could be a cup thing. It could be an alternated thing. We don't know yet. We'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, unclear, but a little bit of an interesting thing. I think the back four was pretty much probably. Well, actually, no, that I'll take that back a little bit. So we had Bani and Hefty, who of course we expected to see in that position, but it was interesting to see Dragushin actually in the starting lineup kind of already.
Well, I was honestly, between you and I was expecting him to be there. I'm expecting him to be the starting main central together with Bani, honestly.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah.
Obviously, on the left side, we had Sabelli.
That's right.
Because Pajak or Payac, whatever you want to call him, he was disqualified. Right. So therefore, he couldn't be able to play. So it was interesting to see Sabelli. There were quite positive comments. I'm not going to be all gung-ho about him yet, but I think it was a good show and it was interesting. Obviously, they're continuously giving Sabora out the door. Actually, there are rumors, I think, for him to go to Frosinone. I can't even remember now.
Another German team or something. I mean, I really can't figure this guy out, Sabora. Like, I remember watching him a couple seasons ago and actually thinking, hey, this guy could be something, and he was sort of inconsistent. And then, I mean, he was in Germany last season. He never played, at least halfway during the season. He was on loan.
Injury too, right?
Yeah, a little bit of injury. But yeah, unclear. So, okay, yeah, agree. Sabelli had like a pretty decent performance. I think we had pretty much our expected defensive midfield pairing for the most part. I guess maybe like no Ilsanker, but Frendrup and
no Ilsanker and no Sturaro, right?
That's right. Yeah. But I kind of think we're going to see Badel and Frendrup a lot in that place.
And I like them. Honestly, for now, they're working well.
Yeah. I mean, they're both players that can, do a good job of linking play together. They're both pretty good defensively. I agree. I don't see any problem with those guys on the pitch.
And Matt, I'm going to put you on the spot. Was that a 4-2-2-2?
I think it was. There was some rotation with it. Actually, it looked like that was going on because there were times where we had guys together up front.
And I'm loving it. I'm loving this rotation thing.
I mean, there was a lot of interplay. Some places are saying it was a 4-2-3-1. I don't know if that's exactly right. I don't think it's. I mean, I guess in modern soccer or whatever, I'm using air quotes for modern soccer. I hate that phrase, but these formations are usually pretty fluid anyway these days.
That's right.
But I liked it too. I mean, that was part of the problem we had last season. Is it seemed like we kept playing with Destro in more like an isolated position, and maybe he wasn't getting involved enough, or he was too far away from the goal in some cases, or something. And the way that we were moving in this version, it seemed like we were all kind of moving up with the ball together, which was a nice thing to see.
And let me also put a note there. I still think Ekuban did a great job. He was like a great team player. You did see like a couple of chances from him too that just got missed as well.
Yeah, he had one that drug right across the goal that if he was maybe a couple centimeters the other way, that would have definitely gone in.
Absolutely. So I think a lot of people are thinking him out the door, but I don't think so. I think Blesson really believes in him. And I'm happy for that.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're looking at the lineup as like a talking point, that might be one thing that people have on their minds, and maybe that's what you're seeing too, Fabri, is like, do we want to have Ekuban as our attacking midfielder? I agree with you. I thought he played well. I thought he had a good match, but like that's the one. I think that's the one position that a lot of Genoa fans have been really centering on too. Is like we need another number 10 attacking midfield player. Is Ekuban that answer this season? I mean, I guess a little bit. I don't really necessarily know, but I don't think you could look at it and say it was a bad performance either. So,
well, the good thing is that we have quite a few elements up there, even though a lot are still going outside, like leaving, for example, Favilli, Charpentier, and we're going to talk about him shortly.
Yes.
Or seems like to be going out the door and whatnot. So, I mean, remember, we still have Yeboah, which a lot of people are still talking not too happy about his performances and so on. But even though it was offside and whatnot, he did have a score. I mean, it obviously was not an official one, right. But I mean, I think he's just getting warmed up, if you know what I mean.
I mean, I would be surprised if we let him go. It just like the type of player that he is. If I was a Blessin or someone in charge of making decisions at Genoa, this is the type of guy that you keep in your squad because he's still like really young. He has some potential. He's pretty raw in some stuff, and I agree with that. I understand why people are saying it wasn't the best game for him. But at the same time, like you can at least get his value up by getting him a couple of good goals. If he maybe times his run a little bit better, he gets a goal already in the Coppa Italia. And we're saying it's a much different thing because it's on the score sheet. So I'm with you. I think you got to remember we have Yeboah. You have to remember we have Yaltsin too, who made his debut. I mean, I know he came.
Correct.
On, I guess him and Yebo came on at the same time. I forgot about that. And Yeltsin could be a guy that eventually we play more centrally, and maybe Ekuban's out a little bit. I don't know. So there are a couple of guys in that mix already, and I think also if we've got that balance on the defensive side of the pitch, which it's sort of looking like we had. I mean, the first goal that Benevento scored seemingly was luck is not really a fair thing for Benevento, but I can't imagine. I really hope we don't get beat off of a corner like that very often. And Glick,
I know.
Glick is relatively tricky in that.
While to the second one, I have to give a little bit of fault also to Martinez.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely let that one in, and wasn't it like a late goal too? Like the game was pretty much in hand.
Both of them, yes. The first one was like 45 plus 3 or plus 1 or something like that, while the last one was like on this 90th plus 3 plus like few seconds before the whistle was blown.
I mean, in my mind, that game still ended 3-1. I feel like at that point,
yeah, exactly.
I
mean, these are dangerous things. Like because we had 2 goals lead, was okay. But if we had 1 goal lead, obviously the players would have had a different attitude, and we have to say that. But nevertheless, it's one of those things that you have to be super careful. A lot of games got lost also that way too. And I'm not talking about in general, right?
You got to keep that focus 100%. Okay.
So we're saying Favilli seems to be out the door towards Ternana. Not sure if it's sold or on loan, whatnot. Some rumors are about Vogliacco, but we got an official, quote unquote official. Vogliacco is like one of the youth, right? Super interested throughout for many teams and whatnot, but he has confirmed that he's staying. So that's very important. And it's important to see also how he's going to be utilized, whether he's going to just still stay with the Primavera and or interoperate together with the first team. And almost not official yet, but semi-official, and we'll probably talk a little bit more with our special guest coming shortly. But Aramu seems a done deal.
Interesting.
So it's just like popping in the internet right now. So we're recording now on Wednesday evening, but so the podcast will come out on Thursday. But it's like floating throughout the internet that Aramu has reached an agreement. Candela will go to Venezia. Maybe not Charpentier then. I don't know. Okay. And plus some sum of money, some cash. So Candela plus cash to get Aramu. So we'll talk with our guest. It's kind of like giving away who's our next guest, type of a team he's rooting for is going to be about. But we'll talk more about with who is this Aramu and what should we expect from him too.
Very, very, very interesting. That's a really, especially from Venezia's point of view, I feel like I actually rate Charpentier fairly well if he's one of the guys that's going the opposite way, but that's kind of it's a surprising move, I think, for them a little bit. I don't know. Well,
it is. I mean, we can also talk about what happened with the overall results of, because I don't know if you followed any of the other ones from the Coppa Italia, but there was a lot of upsets out there.
Yeah, let's talk about that some more. I didn't pay as much attention. I was pretty laser focused on Genoa, but over the weekend, what did we see? What were some of the shockers?
So some of the shockers were a lot of Serie B edging against the Serie A, and I'll just mention a few. So obviously some that are like, I don't know, obvious. There's no point even to talk about, but we have Cittadella edging over Lecce.
Wow.
So kudos for our friends of Cittadella. I'm not going to even go into the bikers against Regina because that was a total steal. That's the Sampdoria against Regina. It was Sampdoria went through, but it was a very, 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 I don't know, contentious type of penalty that was given and whatnot.
Yeah.
Pisa lost at home against Brescia. So that's something interesting to see. It's very surprising, in my opinion. I mean, I saw them equal, but 4-1 away at Pisa, it's huge.
4-1 away is a big gap. I mean, look, Brescia is not going to be a bad side this season, but do you think Pisa are going to be challenging to go up?
equally, right? At the very least, equal.
Yeah.
I didn't really follow the match itself, so I don't know what that, that 4 goals lead could just happen because then they got demoralized and they lost it all. Who knows, right?
Yeah.
Spal won at Empoli, which was like super surprising.
Yeah.
Torino won at home against Palermo, 3-0. So this is not a surprise, but it's still interesting for us anyways. Venezia, so we'll talk about that too soon anyways, soon as well. Venezia lost at home against Ascoli. I saw the last goal, poor Venezia. It was just unfair. It was like a ricochet. Anyways, at Verona, Bari wins against Verona.
4-1.
4-1.
How early? I saw there's a red card. Do you know how early that happened in that match? That's an incredible. I guess in the 69th minute it happened.
So not too early, but early enough, right?
Early enough. I think they were already up. I'm not sure if this was related, but it looks like Bari were already up 3-1 when that red card was issued.
Okay, so it didn't really make a big difference.
Wow.
Then at Salerno, Parma 2, Salerno nothing.
I kind of love this result. I'm like such an anti Salernitana fan after last season. I don't know why. I'm always.
Oh, you do know. We all do know why. Not because of you, but we all are against Salernitana. Exactly.
Yeah, happy to see that one.
Well, Monza made it through quite easily, like us, against Frosinone.
Yep.
Obviously, Genoa wins against Benevento easily, 3-2. Yep. Modena wins against Sassuolo. That
was a really surprising one. I mean, I know Sassuolo have a couple of players that maybe aren't within the season, but this is a team that was, challenging for Europe and parts of Serie A last year.
Which last rumors are that Pinamonti is going to go to Salernitana for 20 mil.
Wow, are you serious?
And I was surprised and shocked at the same time because usually Sassuolo does the opposite. So they harvest talent and then they sell them. Right. Well, it just sounds like it sounds like unreal, not unrealistic to the fashion and style of Sassuolo. I'm a little bit surprised. I don't know.
I agree with you. I mean, you've seen their players kind of move up and go to some of the different be tiered structures in Serie A or maybe even abroad or something. But to Salernitana,
shout out also to Scamacca in the EPL doing. He just debuted as well.
Yep, absolutely.
Then Cremonese wins 3-2 against Ternana. And lastly, our poor friends with Cosenza, but poor and not at the same time. They lost 1-0 against Bologna, but they only edged 1 goal to go through. So kudos to Cosenza, did a good job. I talked to Raffaello, and he was like quite happy for the show of Cosenza. So that's not too bad for them.
1-0 isn't bad. And I have actually in front of me a team of the week ranking from the Coppa Italia first round. And so that goalie actually, I think you pronounce the name Christian Matesovic, I think maybe. I might have butchered that a little bit, but Cosenza's goalie was the top goalie. Rodriguez from Torino, kind of one of the more talented guys, I guess. Valenti from Parma. Kamil Glick kind of coming in from Benevento, I think just because he's scored a goal. Bastard.
I know exactly. I was going to say same.
You've got Strefesa from Lecce, Mosti from Modena, player for Brescia, Indoj. I don't know how to exactly say his name. And then you had Goodmanson in the team. So, so we got one there. And the forwards, Radoncic from Torino, Coda also from Genoa.
Of course.
And then Chedira from Ascoli. Or from Bari, sorry.
From Bari.
Yeah. So kind of cool to see 2 Genoa players in the team of the... And
mind you, Matt, compared to what our issues, the biggest issue that we had last year, both from forward. Like, it's like, wow.
I mean, it was kind of like watching a completely different Genoa team. I mean, look, we're playing against Benevento. I get it. Benevento are going to be giving us challenges this season. I believe that too. But we had attacking momentum. We scored 3 goals in a match, just like that by itself. We actually scored 3 goals, and our forwards were scoring. So, good start.
That's awesome. Like I'm so pumped. The fact of being a contender, obviously we're gonna have to look out for the different teams. Seems like Bari's in shape, good shape. Obviously Parma, which was expected. Brescia and Pisa, I still think they're still good contenders. Actually, I had a bet with a friend of mine, Jake. He will be one of our guests eventually soon, sometime in December when we play against Cittadella, because he's a Cittadella fan. But he was talking about to both of us to like line up what our results for the end of the season is going to look like. So I don't know, the top 2, the top 4 that are going to jump into the playoffs, and the bottom 2 with the bottom 2 for the play outs type of thing. So it's a little bit early to tell. I did promise him that before the end of the week, I'll give him something. So before essentially season, match day one starts. Yep. But I think like some indications, even though it is still summer soccer, so calcio estate type of thing, calcio d'agosto or whatnot, it's still, some teams might be a little bit behind preparation. Some teams might be a little bit more prepared. So it's hard to tell, but it's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be an exciting Serie B that we haven't seen in a long time. I'm glad actually that we're going to be part of it, because it can just be one of those Serie B's best ever. And to be part of it is just going to be nice, fantastic, exciting. I don't know. In a way, it's just like thinking about not to be, okay, who should we be winning against in order to get the most points in order not to be relegated. And now thinking differently, saying, okay, we have to reach that amazing, that top quota of 70, 75 points. That's very different. It's amazing. It's exciting. I don't know. I'm just like pumped. That's it. I can't say anything else.
No, I'm with you. It's a completely different way of looking at the season. I mean, there is so much angst out. You were probably feeling this too, like before this match. And we were talking to Daniele about this last week. Like, this could have gone one of 2 ways. And we've got the target on our backs this season. It's the first time in a very long time that that's been the case. We've had some good momentum at the end of the season after 777 come over, with the fans kind of getting more behind the club, some embracing the new ownership. We start off that match with a loss to Benevento. We're out of Coppa Italia, and we're not playing in an attacking style of football, or really more importantly, we're just not getting production from our forwards. You could be saying a whole lot different thing, and it's going to be very different this season too, going into each match expecting to win for the most part. But it's a total breath of fresh air. It's exciting. It's different. It seems like we're going to have a chance to really watch the players get involved and grow. And it also looks like going to be a very competitive season with a lot of really, really good players. So,
good players, good teams. The fact of having Fabregas in Serie B is just like,
isn't that insane for Como of all places?
I know.
I didn't even
obviously know. It's his retirement place, but nevertheless, it's just like fantastic.
I had no idea that Dennis Wise was like a managing director. I don't know his role is at Como, but like what a random. That was exactly what happened with him for sure. He went to Como, was retired.
For sure.
I'll just take a job over here.
I have my villa here. I'll just play one more year just because. I just don't want to like grow old and have too much of a belly, and I'll start to play a little bit with this little Como side. Wait, why not, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm laughing about it. Perhaps no, I don't know. Who knows in reality? But that's what it looks like from the outside.
I kind of think the same.
So the new kit came out. So yes. Everybody was so antsy just 2 days before the Benevento game of Coppa Italia came out. Yep. What did you think about it?
Well, the release I thought was really funny when they had like the shorts first and like these girls in the shorts and stuff, which actually, I mean, whatever. I wasn't upset about it, but
I wasn't.
I liked it. I mean, it's pretty traditional as far as our kits go, and that's how it should be. Some nice subtle gold detailing, I think mainly with the Castor logo, or however you say their name. And I think maybe some little like air kind of pockets on the side or whatever it is.
Under the armpits, yeah.
Some people weren't really big on like the sponsor. I kind of thought I actually sort of like it. I don't know why, like the tilted like radio thing. But I agree. The shirt without a sponsor is always going to be a better looking shirt.
Hey, I'm not gonna be too a fan of that one myself.
Yeah.
I agree and I understand, but at the same time, I think that a professional soccer football kit will always have a sponsor. So not seeing it always bothers me to say, what are we, like the poorest of the league or something? You know what I mean?
That's fair. I get it. I mean, look, this is a professional club. I thought it actually was kind of interesting seeing it on actually seeing people playing in it though, because like the paneling is sort of interesting how it like the halves sort of like stop immediately and the back part kind of comes up a little bit in the front of the shirt. But I don't know. I'm not really complaining about it. I think it's a nice looking kit. We've got the new badge. What
I know it looks sweet, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It looks really sweet. A comment to that tilted logo for the radio. It's the oldest private radio in Italy.
That's cool.
That is a sponsor for the first time, I'm thinking, for the oldest team in Italy. So it just matches perfectly. Plus, you have this colossus underneath it, like the secondary main sponsor type of thing, which is MSC and so on. And so we had it a few years back with Costa Crociere, and now we have MSC. So these are all important sponsors, both of them for us. So it's like quite a big difference compared to the last few years that we had with Preziosi that most didn't want to even show up because of whatever reasons that there was going on behind the scenes.
Well, I think it's great too that we're selling sponsorships on the shorts. I think that the Portofino thing is kind of funny, but
that was really nice. Also, the different sponsor also for the training kit as well.
That's right. Yeah. So look, if we're getting some extra money out of this thing, that's exactly what we should be doing. And you're right. I can't remember the last time we sold our training kit to anybody. So
exactly. So that's all. And just right now, before we're recording, essentially, the sneak peek from obviously perhaps was the same person from the store that just had the unpacking the boxes and whatnot. The kit for the away jersey just came out. So it's not official yet. So there hasn't been any presentation yet. But why don't you have a quick description about it, Matt?
So it's, we're expecting it to be white base kit, which is exactly what it is. And you've got the Rosso blue stripes, but it's instead of kind of being more horizontal on the shirt, which is kind of the more traditional look, it's almost in this like sash style coming from the top, I guess the top left shoulder. If you're not really looking at it too closely, it kind of looks a little bit like the low Lanterna because there's kind of an angle to the way the stripes are being carried across the shirt. And then you've got the sponsor directly on there, the Radio 105, and then MSC is over to the side a little bit. So it's not on the sash. And maybe interestingly too, the badge is just the Griffin with the 1893 and Genoa CFC. So
it's interesting too. So it's not using the old coat of arms type of thing badge. It's using this type of more modern type of approach. I like it because it's a little bit different from the main the first kit. It's a little bit like your sort of off official type of Griffon and so on. So no, I don't mind that at all. I'm still curious to see the third kit, but we'll have to wait and see for that one, I bet.
Yeah, I mean, like we were talking about earlier, it's a different kit. Some people might like it. It might not be everybody's cup of tea, but look, it's a Genoa kit. It looks like one, and I like it's a little bit different.
Perfect. No, I love it. It's like this rugby style, as I mentioned to you already, but it's not bad. It's okay. It's sort of like a diversion to our traditional type of white with the red and blue stripes, and it works for me. So we're going to have a quick break for our usual commercial break. I'm not going to comment on that one anymore, but right after that, we'll have a super special guest with coming from the side of Venezia, even though he's not in Venezia. He's not in North America either, but our guest is from Scotland, and he will tell us more about it, explaining to us exactly all the ins and outs of his podcast that he's running as one. And we'll have Marco Rinaldi from a Venezia fan from Scotland.
My name is Fabrizio Cardone, and I approve this message.
Welcome back from our short commercial break. And right now we have our special guest from Scotland. We have our guest, Marco Rinaldi, which is a Venezia fan, but I'll leave it all to him to describe all his ins and outs, his colors that he's in love with and whatnot. Welcome to our podcast, Marco.
Welcome, Marco.
Thanks very much for having me on, guys. I'm despite my name, I'm based in Scotland, as you can tell from my accent. But my club has always been Venezia. My mum and her family are from Venice, so that's kind of where the connection lies. And I get over and watch the team when I can. I watch them now. Fortunately, you're able to watch them every week on the internet, which is good. But so I've supported them since I can remember, being promoted to Serie A under Zamparini, and all the ups and downs, mainly downs, since that time. So and then obviously we had the brief joy of being in Serie A last season, but sadly only lasted for one season.
Well, it was a tough year, obviously, for us as well. Never mind. The matches against Venezia were always exciting, because I'm thinking back, and Matt, as you just got to meet him just like a few seconds ago, he's like he's American, no Italian connection, but yet he's Genoano. So sometimes I bring to him some history, not that he doesn't know history, mind you, but there's some inside context, and that context is the fact of how from the Middle Ages, actually, there's this antagonism between Genova and Venezia, which is just beautiful. Even there's different regattas that happen throughout every year. It's just like beautiful, this from the old Repubblica Marinare, how we say it in Italian. It's just like fantastic, this rivalry that we have among the two cities.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There's a long and interesting history there between the cities. But more recently, certainly on the football field, I would say that Genoa have been faring better than us in recent times. But obviously, last season wasn't a great season for either of our teams. I obviously do a podcast as well with my cousin Giancarlo, Rigore podcast, and we did observe Genoa went on a run of 24 games or something without winning a game or something, which was incredible.
Thanks for reminding us about this one, Marco.
I don't often get to share pain with another team, so I've got to take advantage of it.
No, you're absolutely right. Like, last year was so horrible. The attack was inexistent, and it was just like, I guess we had the luck and bad luck at the same time of changing ownership. So the fact of having to be relegated with the new owners, Americans, like sharing this fact also with you guys, but it's a good way to regain all our strengths and all our change things, and that's the most essential thing about what's happening in Casa Genoa, as we could say in Italian, I guess. But what about you? So you mentioned that you have a Rigore podcast. So tell us a little bit more about yourself, like with respect. So you're a Venezia fan, but what else do you do on the side, let's say?
Well, I'm not going to bore you with my day job, because it's not exciting at all. But always, I've always, growing up in an Italian family, you've got that passion for football instilled in you, and Venezia. I'm kind of unique in my family in the sense that I support Venezia. My dad's side of the family is from Tuscany, so a lot of my relatives are Fiorentina fans, including Giancarlo, who I co-host the podcast with. So that's always been a sort of rivalry between a sort of familial rivalry between us. But Giancarlo is a journalist. He and I, years and years and years ago, mainly him, but I always try and claim some of the credit. He had a fanzine called Rigore. This was back in the glory days of Serie A in the 90s. And so since then, he's been viewed as a sort of go-to expert for British press and stuff like that for Italian football, and I always sort of try and piggyback onto that. So, and I've been saying to him for years, let's start a podcast, let's talk about it. So last season we actually did it, but it couldn't have been timed worse, to be perfectly honest. The year before would have been good. Venezia got promoted, Italy won the Euros, but sadly we timed it for the worst possible season from my point of view, anyway.
Well, you're talking to two of us. We started the podcast right when Genoa were going down, so it's about the same. It probably would have been that much better the season before for us anyway, I guess. But
and mind you, let me add to that. It was like either the week before or the week after, or also the derby, which obviously was not the reason for us going down, but definitely did not. I mean, it was better than the first leg, but it still was a loss, and with that Rigore that was missed and so on.
Yeah.
Anyways, so we know what the pains are about that too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So yeah, no, I always enjoy talking about calcio with people, and Venezia have become, a bit to my chagrin, really, a sort of fashionable club around the world, and so more people. It used to be that I would say I was a Venezia fan, and people would often say Valencia because that's kind of a sound-alike club that they've heard of, but more people know who we are, but mainly because of our strips rather than what we do in the football pitch.
So, Marco, you're not wearing the tight-fitting Kappa shirt with all the gold and all that stuff and all that. I'm kind of with you. It's like, okay, I get people like it, but I don't think football needs to be that, though.
No, I think I am getting too old, perhaps, but I can't be bothered with it. I have a real issue with the sort of too cool for school approach of some clubs' Twitter accounts, including my own, and the whole obsession with football shirts and things like that. Now, last season's shirt caused a bit of controversy amongst the Venezia fans because it didn't really have anything to do with the club. There was very little Arancio Nero Verde. It was more Nero Oro, I suppose. So yeah, the new owners have definitely given the club more stability, which is great. And obviously we did get promoted to Serie A, which is amazing, and it was amazing. But I can't say that they've completely got the fans on board in terms of the direction they're taking the club.
So yeah, that's a good point. That's a good opener for the next thing I wanted to ask you. I quickly saw the highlights. Mind you, I didn't watch the game, and I apologize for that. But for the Coppa Italia, so the new season type of opener for you guys, so playing against Ascoli. So I bet you watched it, and how did you see your team, your new season opening with that loss?
Well, I mean, it's. To be fair, it's a difficult one because we had 13 players out with COVID and various other things.
Absolutely.
It was very much, I think we had 8 Primavera players actually on the pitch. So you can't really judge anything from that game. And we ended up showing a bit of fight and almost took it to extra time at the end. But I don't know. I can't judge the team yet because I haven't seen them. I thought our new goalkeeper, Joronen, looked pretty good, made a couple of good saves. Novakovic up front looked like he had a bit about him. But yeah, it remains to be seen. Once again, we've followed this strategy of buying lots of foreigners, unproven foreigners, which it sort of worked. Well, we got promoted to Serie B with a similar sort of approach, but it's just Serie A with a similar sort of approach. But it didn't work last year, and it seems a bit odd to have taken the same strategy again this year.
Well, to the management's defense, obviously Venezia had a lot of showings that were like surprising, did a few upsets here and there. So I think it was just a matter, in my opinion, and in my humble opinion, it was more of a matter of time that perhaps during the end of the season kind of didn't show much there and whatnot. But I don't know. It's a different approach. A little bit our management is doing the same thing, like with these foreigners that never heard of and whatnot. Not all of them, because that was also part, not necessarily only, but obviously part of the relegation issue and whatnot. But no, it's actually funny how you said that, because there's a lot of similarities that are happening. And I guess, is this the new soccer happening in Serie A? Will it be the new type of soccer? I don't know.
I think it's unfortunately, I think it's a symptom of the state that Italian football is in at the moment, which is that there isn't a lot of money when you compare it to the other big leagues, and so what they're having to do instead is try and unearth these gems, and so occasionally that will happen. They'll find someone that no one else has heard of, and they'll become a star, and they'll be able to sell them for lots of money, and then build a team, or and that seems to be the approach that nearly every club is taking, with the exception of maybe Juve and Inter. Even Milan, I mean, it might change with their new owners, but they've been very money conscious in the past few seasons as well. So, yeah, I just think that I don't like saying this, but I've said it on our podcast as well. I just think that our football is unfortunately lagging behind the other big leagues at the moment, just in terms of the money. And obviously, a way out in front is the English. I saw a graph showing the amount of money, and it's they're leagues and leagues and leagues ahead of anyone else. And I just don't know how our teams, or even some of the other big leagues, can catch up with that.
No, absolutely. I think we're almost at par with the Bundesliga, just a little bit below La Liga, but EPL, like Premiership, is just like eons ahead, and just the amount of, we talked that a few times ourselves in our podcast, and the amount of money that they get. I think the last of the league gets more money than the first of Serie A. It's something like that. It's just like insane. And it's hard to compete. You're absolutely right.
I mean, when you've got people like Scamacca, who would be going to, in years gone by, he'd be going to Milan, he'd be going to Inter, one of these clubs, and he's going to West Ham, who aren't even nearly the biggest team in England. So it's that sort of move that is kind of depressing from an Italian point of view.
It definitely puts a different perspective on the whole thing when you start to see clubs like that compete and sign players that would have been the jewel of the Italian leagues. And obviously, it's a little sad for us to only having him on loan for a season. But I mean, I guess a little bit to that point too. I know obviously that the Premier League stuff started with a lot of the broadcast money that they've been getting. But I'm curious, in Scotland, you said you've been able to watch a lot of the matches. Have you had a service or anything to help with any of that with Venezia? Has it been mainly just torrent sites and stuff like that, or
no? It's so two ways. There is on BT Sport, which is a sports channel here. They show a lot of the Serie A games. In fact, they showed most of the Serie A games, apart from when there was a clash between them. But otherwise, you could watch all of them last season, which was pretty good. And also, my dad has a subscription to DAZN, so
there you go.
That's how I've been watching it. So, and obviously, Serie B sadly isn't on British TV. There's not a great clamour for that. So, I mean, the football rights thing seems stupid to me, that you can't just pay. I'm someone in Scotland who wants to watch Serie B. Why can't I pay I'm willing to pay money. I'd be willing to pay money for a good stream with decent with Italian commentary. Let me just pay it and I'll watch it. And it's not stopping any other thing happening. I don't understand quite where the TV rights thing is on that front. They seem to be lagging behind, I think, in terms of what they could be doing. And I'm sure, I don't know, I mean, how are you guys going to watch Genoa this season?
Well, it's funny that you say that. So let me first say one part. So Matt actually brought to my attention this type of approach that they're doing for the secondary leagues in England, where it's a pay per subscription or something like that, where essentially you pay about £180 or something like that, and you're able to watch it on any platform. And I think it's like a a membership that you can bring all around the world wherever you want to, because it's your subscription itself. So that would be fantastic if that ever went that way, in my opinion, because you're right. Like, people are willing to pay the money if they want to follow it. Why not? I think that is specifically for the team rather than the whole league. I can't remember now, but nevertheless, I would still pay for it.
Yeah,
now,
absolutely.
There's this Hellbiz, which is I think it's an Italian company, similarly to Fubo TVs or the DAZNs or to the whatever they might be, the new type of streaming platforms. So they have the rights in place for, obviously, Italy. They have the rights in place for the US. So Matt's covered. They have it for Serbia. I don't know why Serbia, but let's say they have it for Serbia, and that's it. So me being in Canada, I'm out of luck, like yourself too. I heard we have this chat with all the Genoani from around the world, and there's quite a few, obviously, in the UK, and they're all reverting to either VPN, so this using the streaming with a VPN, or through the torrents or pirated type of streaming. It's going to be bizarre, because it just reminds me of the olden days when I was here in Canada. And they were not even showing Serie A and whatnot. And all I had to do was go to these pirating type of. So I was happy because I could finally see Genoa. But it's like going backwards now. I don't know.
I know it is. It's mad. To me, it's just they haven't caught up with what technology can do. Because, like you say, people are willing to pay them money for legal streams. So why not? Why not make that available for those that want it? I don't see where they lose out on that in any way. It's not like there's a channel in Canada saying, no, we want to buy the rights for Serie B. So
no one, for now, anyways, no one. Or maybe because I know that Serie B, Lega Serie B has given to Hellbiz these the rights of management around the world. So I guess they are dealing with the different countries, but obviously not well enough, I'm guessing. But
it's a bit of an odd approach.
Exactly. So let me ask you a few questions. So with respects to I know it's hard to tell, because obviously with the whole COVID situation that happened, unfortunately to your team, it's going to be hard. But with the new signings and with the new approach and whatnot, how do you think Venezia is going to do as far as you can tell in the new season? What's the goal, I guess?
Well, the goal, I suppose, is to try and get into the playoffs. I would think it would be the goal that we're aiming for. Obviously, Serie B this year is a particularly tough division, I think, and it's always a tough division. Having been in that league many times, I know that there isn't an easy game in that division, and there's often very few points between play out and play off places. So it makes for an exciting season, I suppose. But
that's for sure.
I think we seem to have held on to a reasonable number of the players that we had last season. We have bought some new players in. As I said, some of them are still to be judged. But I think I'm put it this way. I'm not overly concerned that we'll be fighting off relegation, but because Serie B is such a competitive league, I just don't know. I don't think we'll be, fighting for those automatic promotion spots. I'd be quite surprised if that was the case.
So if I had to ask you, Matt, jump in whenever you want, but if I had to ask you, like, your guess at this point, obviously it's very early and things can change, and we can even meet again and then rejig them again, right? But who would you think are the top two and the next, I guess, the next four for the playoffs?
Oh, right. Now you put me on the spot. I don't know. I mean, I think I get the sense that Calgary might bounce back quite well. I think Genoa also will do quite well next year. I don't know. I'll be interested to hear what you guys think. But those two, in terms of the relegated teams, I think they'll do quite well. But I think I don't know, Brescia always are thereabouts, and Parma, I think, might improved from that position that they were sort of mid-table last year. But I think they've now taken that season to find out where they were, improved their squad a bit, and and they had quite a good result in the cup as well. So, I mean, I suppose those would be the ones that I think will be sort of fighting for the top. But I am speaking from a point of view of I've only really been paying close attention to what we've been doing, so I'm not entirely sure how good the other teams are at the moment.
We're in kind of a similar boat, I think. I mean, we're hopeful that we're in the automatic promotion positions too. We had a good sign of life with the first Coppa Italia match, obviously, and seeing us actually scoring goals is a good sign. About that, which may or may not be the case the rest of the season, but if it is, I think we're feeling good. There's been a little bit of clamor. I know there's certainly an anxiousness of feeling maybe we should be signing more players, I think, has been part of some of the feeling that's been going around. But it's also difficult, I think, for us to judge because we brought in some players who were on loan last season in Serie B, and a lot of us didn't really see how they played, But maybe they'll stuck on pretty well for the side for us. I heard also there's some rumors transfer-wise. Fabri and I were just talking about it with Aramu. Have you heard about this at all today? I think this is like fairly new.
Well, I mean, he's always been linked with the move away from us, but I've not heard the latest one. What was the latest one to you?
So, well, these are obviously all rumors, mind you, right, Marco? But never, and journalists just like jump on that all the time and so on. But the latest rumor, well, Aramu was kind of coming back and forth with Genoa and Venezia, and one of the to Matt's point, one of the returnees of the loanees that went out, one or two that were interested by Venezia. One to them being Charpentier, which did a fairly well season in Frosinone, and the other one is Candela. So apparently the last rumor is a deal has been found between the two teams. Again, it's a rumor, so I can't necessarily say it's going to happen because you know how it works. And it's going to be Candela over to Venezia, Aramu over to Genoa, and some extra cash going to Venezia. So I guess the question here, based on what Matt was saying, is like, what can you tell us a little bit more that we might not know because you've been following it more about Aramu? Like, tell us a little bit more about this player.
Well, I mean, he's a great, he is the creative. He has been the creative spur for us for the past couple of seasons. He's got a great left foot on him. He can be a bit inconsistent. He can sometimes disappear from a game, but he can hit a great free kick. And I think that would be a big loss for us, to be honest, especially since I can't see that we've got anyone that is an immediate replacement for him and that creativity. We've got, he sort of ended up being quite maligned last season towards the end of the season, but Buzio, I thought, started the season quite well, looked like he had some creativity about him, but he's not the same sort of player at all. I've kind of been surprised we've hung on to him for as long as we have in this transfer window, but it would be a shame to lose him, especially at this stage, but I
expressed a little bit of surprise too to Fabri. I think especially coming to us in the same league would be a little bit more of seeing him go to maybe like a mid-table Serie A or something would be more of what I would expect. And I'm happy to hear you say Buzio too, because growing up in Kansas City, it was nice to see him make the move last season. So hopefully he has another good season this year for you guys. But
I mean, selling him to you guys is a bit like what we did with Matsuoki and Salernitana last season. We got rid of him and then he ends up being one of the best players and helps relegate us. So, I don't know. There's another interesting decision from our board, but yeah.
Of course. No, on the other side, Candela is like this youth, interesting player. He's a right back. He was quite searched from different teams and whatnot. Obviously, he was more so like loaned out, so he didn't really play much for Genoa. I know he did quite a good season last year with Cesena, but it could be also if you have issues on the backside. Definitely, he's a good potential future talent that can work well for you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Now, so Aramu, we're looking for, if this happens, if this goes through, it's definitely something that is it's something that we've been always looking for, some sort of like that attacking midfielder, like your Regista or whatnot that we were looking for. Rumors are saying that both the players, if they are, it's true, everything is happening, are not going to be playing on Sunday. Obviously, the situation for Venezia is still a little bit unstable based on the fact that those players that were positive to COVID. But what's your take on the opener for the season that is going to be played at Pico Stadium against Genoa?
Well, I think it's going to be, whether we had our full squad or not, it was going to be obviously one of the tougher games of the season for us. So a difficult opening. I just don't, honestly, in terms of the new players, the new manager, there hasn't been enough, data to work out whether we should be looking to win that, whether they should be looking to draw that. I honestly don't know. We've got this boy, for example, up front, Connolly, Irish player, who I've no idea, like literally no idea. He could be good, he could be awful. So these sorts of things are complete unknowns to me. So I think it's going to take a few weeks for us to kind of, balance out and find out really our level in that league at this time. I mean, we do still have the core of the team that we had last season, and I think that team could do reasonably well in Serie B. But yeah, we've got to see how the new players and the new manager all fit in.
No, that's right. There's also the new manager. That's how do you see that happen? I mean, it's all early talk, obviously, but coming from Südtirol, which was obviously the surprise for the team that came up surprisingly to Serie B. So I guess in a way that was a good sign in a way. But how did Venezia see that?
Well, he comes with credentials that seem quite good. I mean, he was a hugely attacking manager, did really well with Südtirol, and so that bodes well. It kind of reminds me of Dionisi when he joined us from, I can't remember where he joined us from, to be honest, but he came from that lower division with that sort of reputation as well and did well. But then there's also on the flip side of that, we had Vecchi, who I think was the Inter Primavera manager, who had done wonders with them, won the Primavera Cup and League and all this sort of stuff, and was just awful. So, I don't know. I personally would have rather seen us get a more experienced, someone, one of these old veteran Serie B managers that knows what they're doing in that division, and knows how to get a team promoted. That's what I would have liked to have seen us get, but it's not the way of the club. The club is always looking to bring in potential surprise packages and then I think hopefully make money out of them if it goes well, essentially.
At the surprise package, I mean, hearing you talk about this stuff, I know we really aren't in a place where we can gripe too much because this is the first year we've been down in Serie B for several seasons, but there's a little bit of that for sure with Genoa, with Boessin, and with some of the new management group and a lot of these things. And I think a lot of fans were saying, kind of as we were getting relegated, do we need more of either that type of a player or that type of a manager, just because it's going to be such a difficult season. Every single team is going to be a difficult out. And you kind of need that sort of grinded out type manager that just knows that stuff, probably knows some of the dirty tricks a little bit, and just like the right level of, I don't know how you say it, maybe grit or whatever it is, but it'll be an interesting season, I think, just because there's just so much uncertainty around every team you're going up against.
I think with managers like this as well, I think the thing about them is that if you're going to do that with a manager, you need to give them time. You need to let them find their feet and stuff. And the trouble is in Serie B, when it's so competitive, if you give them time to find their feet, you can end up right down in the relegation places. And then what do you do? Do you stick with them? Do you brave it out and hope that they manage to their philosophy comes through. That's where the risk comes in, and I think. We kind of did that in a way with Zanetti last season, but in a bizarre circumstance, we kept him until way too late. If we were going to get rid of him, we should have got rid of him earlier. I would have been happier if he had stayed and been with us now. But if you were going to sack him whenever it was 3-4 games before the end of the season was not the time to do it. That was the worst time to do it. So, I don't know. I mean, it may work out well, but I think these sorts of managers need to hit the ground running, and then the belief starts to go through the players as well. But if they don't, then that's when trouble can start.
Yeah, that belief thing is so important. But I guess for some good news, at least in the United States, the betting odds for this game are flat even right now. I have no idea how that's the case. I think maybe folks in the U.S. are paying attention too much, or maybe not enough to Serie B. But right now it's a coin flip who will win it. So we'll see how it turns out this weekend.
I mean, I think if we had our full team and everything like that, and based on last season, then that would be a fair assumption. But I think things have changed a bit. So I don't know. We'll need to wait and see what. I'm excited. If you follow me on Twitter, you'll see that I gripe quite a lot about my team and some of the decisions they make. But obviously, still support them no matter what. And I am excited for the start of the new season. I can't wait to start watching them every week. And I just hope it would be a nice change if we could actually score some goals and win some games.
That's for sure. That's also what we say here at Genoa. Like, ownerships and the managers can change all the times, but the fanship will always be the same. So we're always going to be rooting no matter who comes and who leaves. Exactly. So it's like you see ups and downs. Hopefully this year is going to be like positive for both sides. It's going to be a tough one, I think, no matter what, from both sides anyways on Sunday. I guess, should I just throw it there in front of everyone? Like, what are your predictions for the final score?
Well, bearing in mind everything that I've said, I'll go for a 2-2 draw. Interesting. What about you, Matt?
I sort of think it's going to be, actually was going to be slightly more pessimistic and say 1-1. I know that would be surprising, but it kind of feels it's an away match. First game of Venezia, you never know. Maybe we have some young guys starting and we don't fire all the way. I think it'll be a difficult game regardless. So I think it'll be a draw.
I think I'm going to go a little bit counter tendency here. I'm going to say 1-0 for Genoa, and only thanks for the fact that Venezia is just a little bit behind with respect to their roster. Otherwise, I would have been on full-fledged with you guys. That would have been either exciting tie with a nice 2-2 or 1-1, but I think it's going to just be a simple 1-0. I'm going to say here, quote unquote, people can't see us, but quote unquote, thanks or unfortunately for Venezia because of the COVID situation.
No, well, I mean, like I said, I'm not going to get too worked up, whatever. I would quite like to see, from my point of view, I would like to see us playing some decent football, understanding the football that we're going to be playing under this new manager, and I would like us to actually create some goal-scoring chances, which was something that we really struggled with last season. So that would be a step in the right direction for me.
Absolutely. No, and it's true. Like, even for us that we have like a few teams, including Venezia, at the very first few matches, it's I guess the positivity around that is like you can get them through and you can have them off your
exactly.
The next few, so you can just move on and start to have your initial type of I don't know, upsets or not upsets, or learn. Essentially, that's always the most important part, is like, even though you do a bad game, let's learn from it and improve from the next one.
Exactly.
And move on with the rest of the series, which is I'm not sure if you heard about it, but a lot of people are defining it as called A2 rather than B this year.
I saw that.
And so it's going to be quite interesting. And as I was telling Matt, it's super exciting to be, even though we have been relegated, it's super exciting to be in this super Serie B this year. And hopefully, even for the Italian overall football, interesting to hopefully see maybe a little bit more interest also around these minor leagues, which has always been like seen like the Cinderellas or the less importance of the leagues and whatnot. Matt, did you have any other questions?
No, I just wanted to, Marco, thank you for your time, for coming on. It's been a pleasure chatting with you. Remind us how folks can follow you, and remind us your podcast again, just so folks can maybe pick that up.
Yeah, so it's called Rigore, but the Twitter handle is @RigorePod. And if you want to follow me, for what that's worth, you can follow me at Marco Rinaldi on Twitter as well.
Yeah, we'll put them obviously on our social media as well. So people that are interested, and definitely I suggest people to follow your podcast as well, because it's always good to see different corners, different angles of the calcio in general and whatnot. And I guess that's what the success of different type of podcasts that are not the usual talking about the big games are all about, because it gives different perspectives that are not the usual.
Yeah, I should say that is very much what Rigore is. It's sort of looking at Italian football from the bottom up as opposed to the top down.
Top down, exactly. Yeah. So that's definitely on my list. I'm going to put it on my Apple podcast on my car. So every time I go in the car, that's going to be definitely my podcast to go to, just to hear some real things rather than just hearing all about Juventus and what this did and what that did. I was like, enough already.
Yeah, exactly.
So thank you once again, Marco. This was an amazing pleasure to have you over. Thank you for the insights with respects to the next game. All the best of luck to both teams. We both deserve it. And it's going to be a very tough season ahead of us, but still at the same time very interesting.
Yeah, well, thanks very much for having me on. Really enjoyed that chat.
And so all the best again for next Sunday. All the best for the season. We'll definitely keep in touch and follow each other. And all the best, Forza Genoa. And thank you everyone for listening to our 12th episode right now, actually. And Forza Genoa, and talk to you next week.
You've listened to La Lanterna, a spotlight on Italian football, a podcast powered by Genuani Si Resta. Thank you for listening, and see you next week.